Hello and welcome to Voice of the Voiceless. Speak your truth. This is a platform for us to come together and have conversations about certain topics where our voices are being suppressed. So today we're talking about mandatory vaccinations. So in Australia there's some new legislations that came out at the beginning of last year, so in January 2016, about vaccinations. So these are no jab, no pay, and no jab, no play. If you haven't heard of these, I'll just do a quick overview. So no jab, no play basically says that any child who's not fully immunised or is not on a catch-up schedule cannot have access to early education. So this includes kinder and childcare. And no jab, no pay says that any parents of children who are not fully immunised or are not on a catch-up schedule cannot receive childcare benefit, childcare rebate, or the family tax benefit Part A end of year supplement. Both of these legislations say that conscientious objection is no longer a valid exemption from these laws. So we're just going to have a little chat about how these two legislations are affecting parents in Australia today, and how there are some people in more powerful positions that are not necessarily listening to the voices of the people and not recognising their rights. So I've been through some of the Australian and Commonwealth laws, and I've just pulled out a few different clauses in regards to equality, discrimination, medical informed consent, which I feel is relevant to these two legislations. And these legislations seem to be trespassing these and just our general human right for freedom of speech and medical informed consent. So the first one is in the Equal Opportunity Act. So the objective of this act is to promote and facilitate the progressive realisation of equality by recognising that discrimination can cause social and economic disadvantage and that access to opportunities is not equitably distributed throughout society. The Equality, Capacity and Disability in Commonwealth Law's review of state and territory legislation states that, and I quote, informed consent refers to consent to medical treatment and the requirement to warn of material risk prior to treatment. As part of their duty of care, health professionals must provide such information as is necessary for the patient to give consent to treatment, including information on all material risks of the proposed treatment. And this also has another clause, and I'll quote this as well. Under the law of trespass, patients have a right to not be subjected to an invasive procedure without consent or other lawful justification, such as emergency or necessity. And I'll go through Section 28 of the Federal Crimes Act. So this states, and I'm quoting again, any person who by violence or by threats or intimidation of any kind hinders or interferes with the free exercise or performance by any other person of any political right or duty commits an offence. And lastly, in 1946 a clause was added to Section 51 of Commonwealth of Australian Constitution Act. And this basically says that the Parliament has the power to make laws for peace and order and good government with respect to the provision of maternity allowances, widows' pensions, child endowment and unemployment, pharmaceutical sickness and hospital benefits, And at the end it says, and benefits to students and family allowances. So I hope that all has made sense to you and that I haven't lost your attention, because I know that can be quite wordy. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my two guests that I have today. So I have Tom and Maddie here, and they are both parents in Australia who are being affected by these laws right now. So first I'm going to ask Maddie to have a chat and just let us know how these laws are impacting her and her life at the moment.
Hi Emily, thanks for inviting me along today. These laws definitely affect me in a really big way. As a single mum with two children, I feel very separated and segregated from society at the moment, because I don't have the same rights or the same options as everyone else does in regard to childcare, and it's actually having a very big effect on me mentally, emotionally, and on my family, because I'm having to do most of the care myself, with not having support from a partner or family, and not having the option to put my child into childcare. It's really been very, very difficult for me, and I'm sure there's lots of other people out there in a similar position as me, and I'm finding I'm having to pay a babysitter, to even just get some time out for me, whereas I'd love to be able to put my son into childcare so that he can connect with other kids, and I can have time to be as a mum and to take care of my kids in the way that I want to. So it's been huge for me. Yeah.
So are you working at the moment, or you just stay at home mum for your little one?
I'm stay-at-home mum at the moment,
okay.
And to even actually get out there and work, it's like, what's my option for care for my child? Well, I either pay a babysitter $20 an hour, or I have to find someone who can look after my child, however many days a week for the work that I want to do. And then how much can I earn while I'm working versus how much am I paying for childcare? And I don't have the option of rebates like I would for the parents who do vaccinate their children. And I feel that personally, from my perspective, my choice to not vaccinate was not just because someone told me to. Like, I did a lot of research, I spoke to a lot of people, and I really felt with every cell in my body that was the right decision for my family, for my child. And one of the reasons why I did feel so strongly about it this time was because I did actually vaccinate my first child.
Oh, okay.
And I was made aware of the effects of vaccinations when he was born. Someone handed me some information, and I thought, wow, you can even... you have a choice here. And what's actually in a vaccine. And at that point, it was so overwhelming for me 8.5 years ago to make that decision, because it was so not the norm. Everyone was just like, yeah, you just vaccinate your child, that's what you do. But with my youngest, I definitely felt that I could I put a lot more time and research into thinking, well, what's actually in a vaccine, and what are the effects of it? I mean, I spend so much time looking at the food that I put into my children, looking at the ingredients, and then it's like, well, why would I just allow someone to inject something into my child when I don't know what it is? So that for me is a really important part of it as well.
Yeah, there definitely is a massive risk there. I've done a lot of research myself as well. And it seems like our kids are almost an experiment, because there is no guarantee that vaccinations are safe and effective. And
like a Russian roulette.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
especially... hey, everyone.
Hi, this is Tom.
Especially considering the vaccine schedule hasn't been tested at all in combination. So individual vaccines have been tested for safety, although even then they're usually tested against other vaccines, which doesn't really make sense and doesn't seem like a fair way to test something for safety. But yeah, the vaccine schedule as a whole has never been tested for safety. So it's crazy that they're pushing to mandate it when they don't know, no one knows if it's actually safe.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of the studies, like you said, they test against other vaccines. Or I've also heard they test against placebo vaccinations, but they actually have heavy metals in them, like aluminium. So they're really, you can't separate which one's causing which symptoms and which side effects.
And it just seems very suspicious that they do that, and then they wonder why we question the vaccines.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sort of some people can't believe that you're questioning the vaccines, and I don't know, for me it's sort of obvious to question something like that.
If something's been forced on you, I think that's a good enough reason for you to go, hold on a minute, why is this being forced on me? Like, I'm sure there's definitely a lot of people out there that there's some alarm bells ringing with as well, and going, well, hold on a minute, what's all the fuss about? What's actually in there? I'm going to have a look, and I hope that's what's happening.
Yeah, in the last 2 years that I've been a member of anti-vaccination group, the membership has grown fourfold from 4,000 to 16,000 currently.
It's massive.
Yeah, which I think a lot of those people have come on board because of the mandatory sort of legislation they're trying to put in. Like, it's making people. I hope it's making people question what they're trying to force upon us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to just follow along if you don't know all of the risks. You need to make sure for yourself and for your family you make an informed choice, as with anything else, any other parenting choices.
And you wonder if they're making it easier for the vaccine makers or producers, if their product is mandatory for people to use, then surely that takes away a lot of incentive for the safety and effectiveness of their product. Because, if people don't have the choice to not use it, then where's their their liability to make a good product? And personally, I don't think their product's good anyway, based on all the research that I've done. So I don't want to think about if it's going to make it even worse.
The companies that actually make the vaccines do the research on its effectiveness as well, which I think is just a massive.
They fund it.
It's a massive alarm bell for anyone. It should be a massive alarm bell for anyone, I feel, but particularly me. I just think, wow, that kind of tells me all I need to know, really.
Maybe some people might hear that and be like, no, that can't be true though.
Yeah.
Because it just sounds unbelievable.
I've done research on this recently, actually, and they've found that compared to research that's done by independent researchers from vaccine companies, the research done by vaccination companies show that vaccinations are far more effective